Hey guys, our guest today is an image strategy expert who is passionate about helping people transform the way they show up in the world. She founded a concierge personal styling firm that focuses on eliminating the confusion and insecurities associated with determining how to dress. She spent the last decade studying the connection between confidence, self-perception, and impression after recognizing the power of implementing actionable wardrobe techniques and strategic mindset shifts. Her company has taught over 1,000 men and women how to leverage a confident, put-together image in order to open up abundant opportunities in both their personal and professional lives. Her company trains entrepreneurs, business leaders, and corporate executives in the foundations of power dressing from some of the country's preeminent companies with the likes of Morgan Stanley, Deloitte, Berkshire Hathaway, E-Entertainment, Starbucks, and Disney. Welcome to the show, the founder of MiKADO, Jordan Stolch.
Thank you so much for having me here, Mike. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Oh my gosh. If everyone knew what we did to get together today, it just,
I know.
we had some events and we had to kind of get this thing rescheduled, but you stuck with me and I want to thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
We had a great first conversation. Who knows when that was, months ago. And you stuck with me and we're here today. And I know our audience is going to benefit from your cool story that you have to share. And I prepared some questions to kind of guide us through this, but this is designed to be conversational. Again, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this.
Did I do all right in the beginning?
You did great. I was smiling while you were reading.
You have just an awesome background of what you've been working on. Obviously, all the companies that you have been representing in MiKADO, I love it. I follow you on Instagram. I love what you're doing. Everything is branded so professionally. You obviously are a fashion stylist, so every time I see you, you're always looking good, feeling good. You're glowing when you talk about your business. People can check it out at, you personally at jordanstolch.com, and it's JORDANSTOLCH.com. Her business, MiKADO, is MiKADO, MiKADO, personalstyling.com. And on Instagram, it's at MiKADO Personal Styling.
Amazing.
Yes. So when did your love for fashion truly begin? Take us right back to that moment. Was it like every girl who plays with Barbies, or was it more than that?
I wish it was. I think that would be a much more exciting story. It wasn't so much that, but it was always something that was part of my life. I always recognized that connection that you spoke about in the bio between dressing a certain way and feeling a certain way. So I was always somebody when I was younger that was really insecure. I was really small. I just didn't look like the other girls that I went to school with, especially when I was a teenager. And so clothing was always something that allowed me to feel better, or, not necessarily to fit in, but I could use it to kind of adopt my look to look a certain way. And
illuminate yourself to another level. I know what you're talking about. Like when I buy a new shirt, sure, I love to wear it out when I know I'm seeing someone who maybe hasn't seen me. You wear the newer sweater than the one you wore 10 times this year. I totally get it. I think sometimes I feel like people have this negative perception around like the fact that, don't be materialistic. I get that because that's not what you're saying. You're just saying, hey, like what was the quote from Deion Sanders? Look good, play good kind of thing.
Exactly.
I mean, that's really what it is.
It's really what it is. It's that mindset connection. And that was there for me when I was younger. And I've obviously carried that forward into my career. But even in starting my business, it was exactly what you're saying. Like there's often this negative connotation that goes along with even the word stylist, personal stylist, image consultant. There's a lot of words that make it feel like it's something superficial. But for what I'm so passionate and interested in is that clothing confidence connection. So exactly what you said. When I put a certain thing on, do I operate in a different way, or do I feel better about myself? And does that allow me show up differently in my life? And, that's the foundation of it for me. I could care less about trends or, the fashion industry. I don't pay attention to that very much.
Yeah.
I don't care about what's happening on social media, but really what it comes down to is helping people find the clothes that allow them to show up as that person in their life.
Yeah. Super well said and articulated. That's why I was excited to have you on, because you can just deliver, extremely well why, like, what you're doing. And now the
Yeah.
next part of it is I'm wondering your why behind it. So you mentioned because, fashion kind of helped you glow
Yeah.
a little bit and get,
Hmm.
have more confidence as a youngster. And I get that.
Hmm.
But then there's a certain point when you turn that feeling into, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur or start MiKADO. Can you
Right.
walk us through that development into saying, like,
Yeah.
was entrepreneurship in your bloodline, or is this something that you're kind of the pioneer
Yeah.
of that?
Great question. I love it. And my journey to entrepreneurship, I think, was like a lot of people's. It most certainly was not direct. So
Mhm.
I'm from a small city outside of Toronto in Canada. I moved to Los Angeles about 10 years ago. A big driver was just moving to a warmer climate, to be completely honest,
Mhm.
getting away from the snow and the cold. But another element was that I had been to LA. I saw this version of entrepreneurship that just was not anywhere to be seen in the city that I was living in. I had come to LA for business in a previous job, and I just was here and I saw like people are just making stuff happen. And I
Mhm.
didn't know what that looked like for me, but I just knew this was the place I wanted to be.
Mhm.
So I came here, I did a fashion degree at a fashion school here, and then I went into the entertainment industry. So it wasn't a direct road to entrepreneurship. I went into the entertainment industry and I started doing red carpet styling, movie, television, music videos, celebrity,
You were
you know,
working for another company, but really
other companies. Yeah, I
learning
would
the
work.
ropes.
Exactly. I would
Becoming
work
comfortable.
underneath other stylists. I would work in production companies. So it wasn't entrepreneurship, but it gave me a taste of what does this industry look like? How do people work in fashion as a living? But then when you asked about the why, it was that really drove my why. The
Mhm.
work I was doing was incredible, but there was no why. There was no purpose for being there. I would go to set, I would be there for 12 hours, I would come home, and that was it.
Yeah, it was
I
more like
wasn't
order taking than it was being
exactly.
a professional consultant. There's a difference, transactional versus,
Yeah.
more personal relationships and building.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And so I
that's
realized
a
that
creative approach.
the work that I was doing for maybe a celebrity, I felt like this I could be bringing to an everyday woman like myself who's really struggling, who really does not feel good in the way that she's showing up in her life, but she has no idea how to change it. So she
Mhm.
thinks that this current reality that she's living in is it.
Yeah. I want
And
to
to
say
be
something
able to,
too. Go ahead.
sorry to cut you off, I was just going to say to be able to bring a new reality to her, to
Mhm.
help her see that there is a way that she can show up in her life where she can feel great about herself. That's life changing.
Yeah.
And so that, for that to be my why, I was finally at home. And then that's when my entrepreneurial journey really started about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. And so MiKADO's been out about 2015 or so, and we're
Yes.
recording
Yeah.
this in early 2021.
Yes.
Um, that's awesome. So you go to LA, you kind of fall in love with the hustle bustle. And I know, because
Yeah.
I currently live in Buffalo. I visited LA. My uncle
Yeah.
lives in Sherman Oaks, California.
Hmm.
And it's like here, forget about the pandemic for a second, just talking about every day. I love
Yeah.
Buffalo, and the people here are
Yeah.
special. We really have this city a good neighbor mentality. But as far as what's going on, maybe in the entertainment and just
Hmm.
the different events going on, we might have like 3 things in the summer that are worth talking about. Where in LA, you get 7 for 7 because there's always
Right.
something going on.
Yeah.
And so it's a different mentality. And I really
Yes.
love that. I always wanted to
Mhm.
aspire to go out there to do
Mhm.
things with my music career and my
Mhm.
film career. And
Yeah.
even as an entrepreneur, that seems like there's a lot of
Mhm.
opportunity. I'm glad you brought it up because it's actually a question I had a little bit lower on the list. I'm
Yeah.
going to bring it to the surface. I was a couple of years ago, before I met you. I saw a goofy article, probably because Buffalo was mentioned in it. It was Seattle
Mhm.
and Buffalo, and they were listed as the 2 worst
Oh
dressed
no.
cities.
Oh no.
Worst dressed cities, right? So I was laughing, like, okay, I can kind of get that.
Yeah.
So my question is, and both of those cities have a special place in my heart. One's my home.
Okay.
One, I love grunge music, and so you got to love Seattle for
Mhm.
birthing that. Um,
Mhm.
the perception I have that I want you to help me out with, and if I'm wrong, I hope this is not true, is that typically a personal stylist is going to succeed in New York City or Los Angeles or a more fashion-focused city, if that's actually a term, right? Is that true? And do you feel that a personal stylist can actually succeed in a smaller town?
So a personal stylist could absolutely succeed in a smaller town. The reason that they would be drawn to a larger, more metropolitan city is because most, the average person may not have the disposable income to hire somebody to handle their shopping and their wardrobe. So for that reason, you'll more often see them in a larger city. And a lot of stylists are drawn to a more metropolitan style. So they may be more concentrated in those areas. For me, why I often don't even call myself a personal stylist is because I feel very separate from those people. So for me personally, my clients are all over the place because we're not just working on finding them designer clothing or,
when you say all over the place, you mean just different backgrounds, different
I mean, no, geographically all over the place.
Literally.
Because we have,
now?
we do a lot of virtual, now from COVID. And so I had a client this morning in India. So, we're able to help people all over the place. And we don't just focus on, as I was saying, that look of that upper echelon, really polished metropolitan look, because this is something that pertains to everybody, regardless of where you're living. Like wanting to feel good in the way you present yourself when you step outside doesn't have anything to do with just living in New York or LA.
Right. And so that's why I was saying, I hope my perception was off on that. It does make sense. Like your service is definitely a specialized service. It's going to be someone who can afford it. And that makes sense. There's a target market for everything. Right. And, first thing you need to put gas in the car and groceries on the kitchen table and take care of your kids and get them off to school. And if you have all your ducks in a row and you have a little bit extra and you're looking for someone who can help you, then that's really your target market. And you got to go where those people are hanging out. And that's how business works. It's supply and it's location. I guess I was just wondering, speaking to any of the maybe budding entrepreneurs or someone who just has that planet in their heart of being interested in style and fashion, and maybe they're living in the middle of, I'm just picking any state, middle of Kansas or something. Do they need to feel that, hey, let's go relocate to where it's happening? Or can they be like the bigger fish in a smaller pond?
To be completely honest, I would look in a different area because those two areas are going to be so heavily concentrated with stylists already. This kind of work, I'm telling you, people, when they do this kind of work, is transformational. So to be the person who brings it to somebody in the small town where they have nobody to compete against, they're going to be very successful if they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know. I mean, look, it's not like I was necessarily looking to trip over the line of work that you're doing, which is refreshing because I'm having a conversation I haven't had 60 times in a row. And, but at the same time, I was maybe thinking, I wonder if this exists here. I'm sure it does, but maybe not it's as popular. And so I think that's awesome. The other thing, there's a couple notes I wrote down here. You beat me to it. I was going to ask you how you've been doing during the pandemic because we're all kind of quarantined at some point in time and kind of locked indoors. And I know you're very much, you were even telling me, you go to someone's home, you bring all the clothes, right? You literally bring out the racks and you really style them up. So that kind of has taken a little bit of a back seat in my So I want you to tell me about how you transitioned. And the second part was, I can see it already where you can be, my personal stylist someday. I would hire you in a heartbeat. I love that, Mike. I would hire you in a heartbeat. How am I looking today? You said I was doing pretty.
You look great today. A+ for today. COVID has definitely been a challenge for my business, and I would be lying if I said otherwise. But I think for a lot of people in the space that they provided a one-on-one service that was an in-person service, which is what we've strictly provided prior to COVID. Of course, we took a hit on that. And the reasons were twofold. One, nobody wanted people around them. So going into somebody's home was impossible. And two, our clients were almost exclusively in the corporate space because they were the people that could, for the most part, afford that type of service. And overnight, they were working from home and they didn't need clothes anymore. So there were two major blows for our business. And the start of COVID was rough. It was very challenging. And
people aren't going out. That's a whole, I didn't even think about that side of it. Like the need isn't there as much. Like
the need is not, the need is not there. So putting the investment into it, especially for pre-existing clients who, had regularly needed to maintain their image, whether they were traveling for business or presenting on panels, the need wasn't there anymore. So that was challenging. But I think the blessing that comes in challenges like that is that it forces you to pivot. And it forces you to see opportunities that you didn't see before. So about 4 months into COVID, we started virtual services, which I, for the life of me, was convinced would never work. I just felt our model was so personalized, as you said. We would go into a client's home. We would bring everything with us, like at least $100,000 worth of clothing. They would try everything in their home. We would curate like a selection of clothing for them, maintain their wardrobe, everything. So the thought of how could we transition that into a virtual model felt next to impossible. But I think the blessing with entrepreneurship is when you can be around other entrepreneurs, you can learn from what they're doing. And I spent a lot of time in COVID around other entrepreneurs and watched them pivot their businesses. And I tried. I didn't believe that it would work, but I tried. It started slowly, but then it gained momentum. And the blessing was that it allowed us to open up our offering to an entirely different demographic. So while before we would have pulled those LA, New York, major city clients because the price point was quite high, virtual allowed us to offer a much lower price service. So we were no longer doing the 100K showing in a home. And that meant that the shopping component was gone, which meant the time component was gone, which allowed us to bring the service down astronomically. So now the service was something that could be available to an everyday person like, you or I. We could afford something like that. Because prior to that, people were investing upwards of $30,000 into their clothing. So that's not something everyone can afford, of course. But being able to do that virtually now, as I said, we've been able to pick up clients all over the world. Every day, there's somebody coming in from a different area of the world that 6 months ago, I never would have believed I could service a woman in India as I did this morning. So, I think sometimes in these really dark things, in these really dark times that come into our life, if we're able to keep our eyes open, surround ourselves with people who are doing other things that we're not doing, then opportunities do come and we see them in a way that we may not have seen them if we just stayed in the dark by ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes when things are going almost too smooth and everything's just kind of keeping going, I could catch up with you in 2 years and you might be the same exact person.
I
And
would have been
kind of doing the same thing. Do we need to add a service and I'll tell you, I pivoted as well. I actually was going from doing all kinds of digital media and marketing services to now specifically offering podcast production and distribution because it's booming and there's a demand. I love it. So I have to do something I love. And the personal fulfillment's there and the demand is there. And I love that you said, you also got great people around you because it's so important to resonate with people who are forward thinkers that are going to embrace it. So if you call a friend or you're in a Zoom meeting with someone saying, I have to figure this out, but I also want to figure out what we could do that maybe we didn't do. And I love that you took that approach, that mindset. Yeah. And it forced you to do things a little bit differently, but also it's making you a better person, a better business person, offer more to your clients. So your value, the business MiKADO, its value actually went up as far as what it offers due to a horrible situation. That said, there still must be some kind of, drawback as far as people trying to close on and things like that. So is there a way that they can select some items and it gets delivered, or what does that?
That's exactly how it is. So what we do now is we meet with the client on Zoom. We still go through the same preliminary intake process of understanding, what have their current challenges been? What is their body type? What do they need to wear for work? What's the image they're trying to convey? And then rather than doing the physical shopping that we would have done before, we source everything online, present them the selection. So like a really nicely curated catalog, I guess you would call it. They can decide from that which items they want to try. We'll order everything for them, ship it to them. We'll try it on together on Zoom. They'll decide, I like this, I don't like this. What do I want to send back? What do I want to keep? So it's still pretty easy. There's a few moving parts involved. But it's allowed us to work with so many new people, which is incredible.
Yeah. Overcoming adversity forces you to be even more creative.
It really does.
I live in a state of gratitude for the things that do come my way, good, bad, or ugly. And I felt that from you as well. Your energy was, I could tell was, your mindset was thinking that already. And it's okay. Well, maybe this happened for me because now MiKADO can look a little bit different. And guess what? The pandemic at some point clears itself up. Things are going good again. You could pick that other line of business back up again, but now you could still help the woman in India. You could help the guy in Buffalo, New York, and you could still, so you're going to be even more of a service because you learned through a difficult time. And I think that's a beautiful way to be.
And I do love what you said. I think the mindset shift is so integral that we say, this is something that's happening for me, not this is something that's happening to me. Because when we operate from to me, we cannot see any solutions. We just sit in the problem. But when it's this is something that's happening for me and I keep my eyes open to where a solution's coming from, I see them. And then I just lean into them and take them, and they almost always work out. If they don't, something else comes right after.
Yeah. And it's okay to be like, you know, you're going to have some worry and it's going to take an undertaking of adjustment. And, you know, it's always, you want to have the least, like, what is it? The least path of resistance or whatever. So yeah, we all get that. But at the same time, when it almost becomes not even an option, you're just going to go all in on it anyways. And this is your dream. This is your livelihood. It's your business. So why would you just try to continue to drag something out when you can reinvent and create and craft? And you know what? The greatest entrepreneurs in the world, the greatest people have dealt with more adversity than anyone because they've tried more and they failed more. Like Edison with 10,000 attempts until one time the light bulb turned on.
Oh, exactly.
He gave up, 9999. We're sitting here, you and I are doing this thing at candlelight, and definitely not on a Zoom call, right?
So, I totally agree. And it just makes you so agile. You don't get so hung up on the outcomes. If something doesn't work, you're able to pivot, try something else. If that doesn't work, pivot, keep trying, because you know the solution is there rather than just giving up, as you said.
Yeah. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. You're someone who I know is forward-thinking. We just touched on it. Tell me where you go for your influence and inspiration. Is it other podcasts? Is it books? Where do you go for that?
It's books, like biographies for sure. Learning from other people who have succeeded is really important to me. So
do you find like mentors that you would reach out to and call, or is it through a book?
Some mentors, or some I call them like mentors from afar. So somebody like, obviously they don't have the time of day for me. I'll study them. I don't know about
that, but I know what you're saying. Like I would love to dial up Ed Milet right now, but
exactly.
I learned from him through his podcast.
Right. So people like that maybe they're not in your industry, but something like, so somebody for me his name is Rick Caruso. He is a billionaire real estate developer here in Los Angeles. He's created the Grove, which is a really famous shopping mall here. But what he's done is he's taken something really standard, like a shopping mall, and created this incredible experience that's almost like Disney World. And he has a heavy focus on service. So service for his employees and service for his customers. And why I'm saying that is because that's something that's so important to me. Service. What kind of service can I add? What can I bring to my clients? So studying somebody who's not necessarily in my field, but who has a connection to me in some way, or an element of their career is something that I want to emulate. That's where I'll often go for inspiration, studying those kind of people. And then, as I said before, putting myself around other entrepreneurs is number one. So being around people who are way more successful than me is huge. It's the only way that, for me, I feel like I can really have the fire to be motivated, to come up with ideas, to, want to be on the same level as those other people.
Yeah, it's a reach up. It's like the kid that's playing on the sandlot back in the day when kids go outside and play baseball. And you wanted to be playing around kids that were 2 years older than you, because you're going to be the best in your class. Then when you go to gym and play with everyone that's your age, they're looking at you like, how did you get so good? Because exactly that were better than you. Something I don't want to overlook. I love what you said too about getting mentorship through someone, whether it's physically, one-on-one Zoom call, or just learning from them in a different industry. Because guess what? At the end of the day, a business like Jordan's business and my business are completely different, but her and I in a mastermind group can totally connect with each other, totally help each other out. And at the end of the day, you said a word: service, customer service, taking care of your client. That is it right there. If that's something you're focused on, especially in your literally hand like in-person business, Zoom, it's a one-on-one experience. If the person doesn't feel connected to you,
it's over.
It doesn't matter what kind of clothes you have. $100,000 wardrobe is nothing if they see that you are just trying to sell them the $10,000 dress before they know why does Jordan want to show that to me. She's listening to me. She cares about me, right? And so anyone listening to this, remember, at the end of the day, without true customer service where it's genuine and that connection happens, then you're being consultative and not transactional. And what you're offering is not a transactional. Go on a website and just buy it and try some clothes on. That's shopping at Kohl's. That's not shopping.
And there's lots of other opportunities for people to be able to do that. So that I never want to provide that. And before, great clothing or anything like that, service is my number one. So creating that environment, as you said, where somebody's really safe, where they feel like this is somebody who understands me, who cares about me. And then how can I show up for that client in a way that they wouldn't even expect somebody to show up for them that's providing them with service? I want to know so much about my client that I'll remember their birthday or their anniversary and be able to send them something and do, all of these kind of things that are unexpected, but that remind them that they're a human, they're valued, they're an integral part of my business. I'm so grateful that they're paying me. How can I make their life better?
There's a difference from doing something with the expectation that they're like, oh, you're just trying to be better than the other guy. And there's the way you're doing it is, I want to be the best at what I'm doing. So I'm going to deliver greatness. And I'm going to over deliver and over promise. And keep going to the high level. I call that world-class service.
Yes.
And that's what I have that in my mission statement, to deliver at a world-class level. And, otherwise you're just another, like if you're an ice cream stand and there's 5 of them, what are you going to do that's different? So people want to come to your stand. It's not just lower the price by 10 cents.
No.
Over there it's $2, here it's $1.
No, it's not that.
There has to be an experience.
There has to be an experience, as you said, and people will always remember how you made them feel. So if you can create the experience for them that they feel, for me, what's the most important is that they feel very safe. So they can feel very safe to be vulnerable about their body, about their challenges, whatever, about their finances, about their relationship status, whatever it may be. If I can create that experience that they feel very safe and taken care of, they will be a customer forever. And their life will be changed, which is the primary goal of the work that I'm doing. So for me, I could care less about what other people in my industry do. I barely look at that. I don't read books about women in fashion. I really don't care about that. But what I do want to learn from is these people who are making transformational experiences through service.
Yeah. And you took it right to where I was going. And I love it. So tell me about someone who has like this incredible, think of a time when you helped someone out, transformational. one of your clients that just had like a success story, something that you
Yeah.
go, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, most of my clients are like that. Most of my clients are not the people you would think. They're not the people who, have glamorous wardrobe. And there are people, like a man is coming to mind, for example. He was somebody that was struggling with some disabilities. He was very, very, very introverted. He didn't leave his house very often. I don't even know how he found our business, to be completely honest. But when I went to his consultation, he struggled to make eye contact. But he said the last person in his family who was alive had passed away, and he was by himself now. And so he finally decided, he was only in his 30s, he wanted to go out into the world and make friends. This was pre-COVID. He wanted to be able to socialize, but he just didn't have the first clue how to do that. And he wanted to have clothes that at least helped him feel more confident to be able to go into a bar and maybe talk with guys or talk with girls, whatever it might be. And this was, sometimes I have these challenging clients that I feel like, gosh, I don't know if I can create this transformation for them.
Sure.
And he was just so different than my other clients. He was so quiet. He struggled so much to be able to conversate with me. And honestly, Mike, after his first fitting, it was an in-home fitting. It was like the light shifted in his eyes. And obviously I didn't go out with him. I didn't go out into public with him to see what the experience was like, but he would write me afterwards. And he would write that he was able to go out, which to you and I, that doesn't sound like very much, but for somebody who'd never gone out before, and it wasn't about the clothes. It wasn't about, I had a nice suit so I could go out. It wasn't that. It was just that he, through that experience, felt like he gave himself permission, like, I feel okay. I feel like I'm ready to go. I feel like I can talk to people. And I think it was about a year after that, he even told me he started dating somebody. So just, being involved in that journey with somebody, that they get to see the course of their life change, to go down a different path, to see themselves in a new way. That's why I was saying that before, like to give a woman, maybe I see a lot of women who've gone through a divorce. So to give a woman permission to allow herself to be beautiful again, sexually attractive again, allowed to date men when she's 50 or 60, whatever it may be, because she didn't think she could have that permission in her life again. To be involved in that transformation for somebody, that's what, that's my why. That's everything that gets me up out of bed in the morning. So, I hope that answers your question, but I feel like every client I work with has a similar story to that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the questions I usually ask is if you can be known for one thing, what would it be and why? And it kind of ties into your fulfillment. So I do want you to answer that if it's a little bit different of an answer as well. But I can tell that you're purpose driven. You're led to help people, like the gentleman you were helping out. And you get like those butterflies of excitement when you see it's happening.
Yeah.
You know what? I was thinking, and this when you were talking about that with someone who is kind of stuck in a more introverted mindset, which is okay at times, but if it's 100%, then it becomes a little bit more concerning. This guy goes out, just feels a little bit more comfortable. The clothes give him a little more confidence. He's making friends. He gets a girlfriend. That's literally life-changing. That's
it's life-changing.
It's fashion anymore. That's a life-changing situation.
It really is. And of course, I'm not trying to trivialize it. I don't want anyone to hear this and assume that I'm saying he put on a nice jacket and his life changed. It's not that. It's he gave himself permission to see that his life could go in a different way. He started relating to himself differently. And I think that's for me what it's all about. If I could be known for one thing, it would be helping people to see I am enough to do those things that I want to do. Because there's we carry
mic drop moment right there.
we carry so many stories around about I'm not enough, or I can't do that. I can't go out like those other men do, or I could never go. He would not allow himself to do online dating. So many clients, I'm not worthy of doing online dating, or I'm not worthy of that promotion, or whatever these stories are in our head. So for one thing for me would be just helping people get out of their head to see I am enough for whatever it is that I want to do.
Awesome. Super well said. Something that's been bothering me, I've been thinking about it this entire conversation, is dress for success. That overused business
It's so
thing. You know, I used to sell
overused.
insurance, and they always had like coming with a suit and a shirt and a tie and
Yeah.
the whole thing and the
Hmm.
briefcase. And like, you know, some of the older guys in the office kind of did that, but even most people, this was 2012 to 16.
Yeah.
Most of the guys were kind of going tieless, and we are kind of
Yeah.
loose. Like in the
Mhm.
70s, we all would have been wearing like a three-piece suit and smoking stogies
Absolutely.
in the break room and
Pinstripe.
stuff. A little bit different world now. But to me, dress for success, it's like just by putting a tie on and a suit on. I want your opinion on this. So, like, if someone's listening to this and they're a guy or a gal and they're
Yeah.
working in a professional environment,
Hmm.
do they really need to put the tie on to feel that extra level of success, or is, you know, something that makes them actually feel more confident and comfortable, as long as it's still like, if it's a business event, you still
Right.
want to be in the realm of the right atmosphere. But if, let's say, you're selling insurance and you have a jacket on, no tie, and that
Mhm.
makes you feel great and you're closing more deals, like, tell me about this whole dress for
I
success.
love it. Yeah, I love that. And that expression is so overused. So
Yeah,
I'm glad that you brought that up.
yeah.
Number one, I think you already addressed it. It's aligning with expectations, of course. So
Mm.
if you're working in a business environment and the expectation is a business professional look, of course we want to align with that.
Mhm.
We don't want to deviate from that too much. But there's nothing that says that putting on a suit and tie is what's going to help you perform at your highest level. Because for you, you might feel very uncomfortable in that. You might, it might bring up feelings of imposter syndrome, and you think,
It could
I
have a
feel like I'm
reverse
wearing,
effect, right? Where you're
it
not,
has the reverse
you're
effect.
more
Yeah.
uptight and you're like,
And you feel like you're wearing a costume rather than feeling like you're wearing what's best for you.
mm,
So if a suit and tie, if you work in finance, like a lot of my clients do, you might have to wear a suit and tie. But
mhm,
if you're the insurance person where that's not the expectation, you absolutely do not need to be wearing that. But
mm,
what I will say is people take you as seriously as you take yourself. So it's
mm,
not about putting the suit and tie on, but it is about, I can tell if you put attention and care into the way you present yourself.
mhm.
So rather than the suit and tie, it's, do you have something that fits you properly? Are your clothes clean? You
Mm.
know, is it
That is so good,
somewhat
because yeah, that's so good right there. That goes into a whole nother thing. I
Mhm.
wish we had a little bit more time. That goes into, like, you know, when you get to start dating someone or just a friend,
right?
kind of
Yes.
go in and hang out with them a little bit. It's like,
Mhm.
look, you brush your teeth at least twice a day, sometimes
Exactly.
three times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You put new clothes on, you wash your clothes, and like,
Mhm.
you know, and it's just kind of like your character. Now, again, we're going back and saying you don't have to wear the tie just to say that you're
No,
successful or feel successful, but it's how well do you upkeep yourself, right?
it's how
And
well you
that's part
upkeep, and
part of your out, like, what you're putting out into the world. Like, what are
it's
you
what,
rolling out of
yeah,
bed? Like,
yeah,
when I go get a coffee and the person in front of me is wearing their pajama pants, I lose
right.
my mind. I'm like, what kind of effort is this? What are you telling
Exactly. And
me?
that's what it is. And that's the message you're putting out. So I think if you can just be cognizant of how do I feel my best? What am I wearing when I feel my best? And what message am I putting out from the clothing that I'm wearing? How do those
Mhm.
other insurance brokers relate to me when I come in looking really messy and dirty versus how do they relate to me when I'm polished? It has nothing to do with the tie,
Mhm.
but they could tell I put some effort into it. I take
Mhm.
pride in the way I present myself. Same thing in dating. I
Mhm.
take pride in, even if it's just this flannel button down shirt, but it's clean, I have nice jeans on, whatever it is, it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be really elevated style. It just needs to be attention into what you're doing, and it needs to feel authentic to who you are.
Mhm.
We can tell right away if you have that costume on. If it's, if you, Mike, you went to a store and you said, I have a first date, and the lady in the store told you, oh, just wear this. This will be good. Even though it's not you at all. And you're like,
That's so good.
I,
So
I
true.
don't even want to talk to this woman because I'm so uncomfortable in these clothes that I'm wearing.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, don't do something that wouldn't fit your true character and
No,
identity, because then
no,
you're not being true to yourself, and then
exactly.
it's going to backfire.
Exactly.
Some of the most successful entrepreneurs I know, Gary Vaynerchuk
Yeah.
being one of them. Guy wears a black T-shirt and jeans. He'll
Yeah.
go on a stage. He gets paid probably 10 grand to sit there for a half hour,
Exactly.
stand there for a half
Yeah.
hour, and
Yes.
just give him his insights. And he's tells it like it is.
Yep.
No, he's the real deal. He's done it.
Mm-hmm.
He has his companies
Mm-hmm.
that are
Mm-hmm.
successful, and he doesn't need to go up there in a shirt and tie
No.
to be
No.
respected.
No.
That said, I, um, like you got to understand what game you're in, and just,
You do.
you know, if there's an expectation, you said that word earlier,
Yes.
that you look a certain way, you don't want to go against the grain just to be edgy. Like
No,
that's
you
not
don't.
something that's a great
No,
idea either. So
that's
we're
a
not saying,
terrible idea. Yeah.
but for an entrepreneur, someone who's really blew up their fame through social media, he's
Yep.
doing videos in a t-shirt. I'm doing the podcast on a flannel because
Yeah.
I feel good. I'm confident in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I look like I built the log cabin behind me. We're joking before we started recording. So this is such a good conversation, and I feel like I definitely have a ton of notes and learned a
Good.
lot from you today.
Great.
Can people actually, and they can go to your website again, it's MiKADOpersonalstyling.com. Is that right?
Yes, that is the website. And there is something on the website. Well, I have somebody putting it on later today, so it'll be up soon. A free thing they can download right there. That's 3 ways to get better at style without buying any clothes. So even if you're in a place that you don't have money to invest in a stylist and you don't have money to invest in new clothing, a lot of the work is done up here in the mindset. A lot of it is exactly what you and I are talking about here, about getting excited to get dressed, about getting excited to put attention into what we're doing, about coming up with the message. How do I want to be perceived? How do I feel good? So that's going to be on my website. If if nothing else, you could look at that, and that might help you kickstart your style journey and start to feel a bit better in clothing.
I've never had a guest who like answers my next question almost.
Okay.
You're crushing it. You're exactly like we're on the
We're in
same
alignment.
Yeah, it's like you can see my notes. Is there a mirror? Like one of those, like, remember those projectors from third grade?
Yes.
My next question was going to be just referring to that. So if someone's not maybe looking for the big wardrobe, kind of the whole experience, and they simply want, like, it sounds like you offer it, where they can maybe do some consultative, hey, this is kind of what I'm doing now, I'm looking to go here, and you can just paint the picture for them, and they can go and take the next steps. And
Yes,
then maybe that
absolutely.
person transitions into your full services. Is that right?
Exactly. So it's twofold. Like, say they can't spend any money on a service. That's why we just finished designing this guide. Go on the website, download it. It will really help. Number 2, if you have a little bit of money to invest in it, but you're not ready to buy clothes yet, we do have an intro package, which is also on the website, where we can just start to create the foundation, the look of it. We'll put images together for you that you can use for inspiration. And that's a great way to kickstart as well.
Beautiful. Last thing I like to do on the show, there's 2 things.
Okay.
And I appreciate you following the show. I know you've been watching for a little while here. So you probably know this is coming, but if you can deliver one message to our audience to inspire them to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, similar to what I said before, you're enough. And your life is so short. So take those chances right now. Go after whatever that thing is in your gut that's telling you, I might be interested in trying that. Lean into it because it's worth the opportunity.
Yeah, that's so good. That's your purpose. Like, if you're listening to this and you don't feel like what you're doing is fulfillment, or you're off purpose, then take some time to recenter yourself and go do the thing. Because guess what? If you're not going to do it, someone else is either going to do it, and they're not you, so they're not going to do it as good as you.
Yeah, and that little voice that's in your head or in your gut, it's almost always telling you something that's very true.
Yeah.
So I would just say, listen.
It's amazing how that compass really works, isn't it?
It really works.
Our heart is our compass right there.
It really is.
Last 3 things, if you can tell us what you are most grateful for.
Oh my gosh. I'm most grateful today for my health and for a place to live.
Health and place to live. And what about a third one?
A third, health, place to live, in my family.
Family, yeah, definitely tie it back. Where in Canada are you from? You mentioned your family in Canada.
They're just outside of Toronto. It's a small city called Kitchener.
So that's not too far from Buffalo then.
Right, very
close. I feel like once this pandemic lifts, maybe we're
going to be hanging out.
We'll get together sometime, somewhere in between. I would love to go up to Canada more often. It's one of those things at this situation. It's so close to Buffalo. It's literally a 2-hour drive. Yeah. Which, if I lived in California, 2-hour drive, that's a further drive than going like Sacramento to San Francisco. People do it all the time. But I'm over here. Like I've been to Toronto once or twice in my life, and I've lived here for 35 years, and it's 2 hours up the road.
Oh gosh.
You got to
Like
deal
that's
with the
like
border. The border is a little tricky sometimes, but really, as long
yeah.
as you just have some patience and it's
Yeah,
not,
it's okay.
it's
Yeah.
not a big
2
deal.
hours is nothing. When COVID's over, we're gonna meet in Toronto.
I think that'd be awesome. I'm down.
Amazing.
We can make me look even better.
You're doing good already, but we'll
appreciate
talk
you.
about it.
I appreciate you. Anything else you'd like to hit our audience with?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for you, Mike, for having me here. For the people that listened, I hope this inspires you to feel like, there's something possible for you, that if you felt like it was there, lean into it. It is there.
Very well said. Beautiful. This interview was a lot of fun. I learned a lot.
I
Guys,
agree.
check out Jordan at jordanstolch.com. It's STOLCH. And also MiKADO Personal Styling on Instagram and MiKADOPersonalStyling.com. Thank you so much, Jordan.
Thank you so much, Mike.
I love you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. Check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.